What is the cost of Donald Trump's automotive tariffs? What comes next as the EU Commission submits its CO2 proposal? And why are car makers facing million-euro fines? This is the Automotive Update, presented by AutoVista24. I'm AutoVista24 editor Tom Geggus, here with the latest edition of the Automotive Update. We're going to explore some of the biggest automotive stories from the past 7 days. This week, President Donald Trump announced wide-ranging global tariffs on goods entering the US. Rates stretch between 10% and 50% for different countries. Economic forecasts were hit hard as fears of a recession driven by higher prices took hold. The news sent a shockwave around markets, with the S&P 500 falling by almost 5% on Thursday. Now, businesses and consumers are looking to leaders around the world. Retaliatory tariffs hang in the balance as the global economy braces itself for escalation and a potential trade war. China has already confirmed it will add a 34% tariff on US goods from the 10th of April, according to the Financial Times. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen called the tariffs a major blow to the world economy. She spoke about the potential of negotiations, but appeared ready to respond. She commented that we are already finalising a first package of countermeasures in response to the tariffs on steel, and we are now preparing for further countermeasures to protect our interests and our businesses if negotiations fail. Tariffs on vehicles imported into the US came into effect on Thursday. Cars made outside of the country are now subject to duties of 25%. Further tariffs on parts like engines and transmissions are set to begin in early May. According to Reuters, Donald Trump's 25% automotive tariffs will cover more than $460 billion worth of imported vehicles and parts annually. At the time of recording, this is equivalent to €416 billion. According to the Anderson Economic Group, these tariffs will have a range of impacts on different vehicles. The lowest impacted models, including some certain small crossovers and sedans made in the US, might see a tariff cost between $2,500 and $4,500. At the other end of the scale, some cars imported from Europe and Asia could see potential tariff costs exceeding $20,000. Sigrid de Vries, Director General of the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, or ACEA, said that we are deeply concerned about the escalation of trade tensions in the world. European car makers are committed to being active in the US, making an important contribution to the US economy, accounting for around 500,000 jobs across the auto sector, exporting over 750,000 vehicles to the US in 2024, and actively investing in local communities to foster economic prosperity. We urge our leaders to meet urgently so they can find a solution to any issues, preventing free and fair trade between historic allies and allow the EU-US relationship to flourish once again. According to Bloomberg, Stellantis now plans to temporarily halt some production in Canada and Mexico. Reuters reported that the car maker plans to temporarily lay off 900 US workers across 5 plants. In a letter sent to employees on Thursday morning, Antonio Filosa, Stellantis' chief operating officer for the Americas, said that the company is continuing to assess the medium and long-term effects of these tariffs on our operations, but also have decided to take some immediate actions. Nissan said it would not take new US orders for its Infiniti SUVs built in Mexico. Meanwhile, Volvo and Mercedes-Benz considered localized US production to get around the tariffs. Volkswagen mapped out the addition of import fees for vehicle prices. Now at the other end of the spectrum, Ford turned to its sizable inventory, announcing discounts across its model range. In a press release, the carmaker stated, "We're opening our employee pricing to all US customers, giving them access to significant savings on a wide range of 2024 and 2025 gas, hybrid, plug-in hybrid and diesel Ford and Lincoln vehicles." In the EU, the European Commission officially submitted its amendment to the CO2 emission standards for passenger cars and light commercial vehicles. This looks to allow car makers to average out their emissions results between 2025, 2026 and 2027. So, if a car maker exceeds their emissions targets in 1 year, they could look to compensate for this in the following years. ASEA's Director General Sigrid de Vries said, "We call on the European Parliament and Council to ensure the fast adoption of this amendment." She added that the next important step is then to thoroughly assess the transformation's overall progress with a focus on refining the approach, not the end goal, where necessary. Green Group Transport and Environment called the concession a mistake, pointing to rising sales of battery electric vehicles in Europe. Julia Poliskanova, Senior Director for Vehicles and E-Mobility Supply Chains at T&E, said, "The EV sales rebound shows that the existing EU target is working. Require car makers to sell more electric cars and the buyers will come. It is a mistake to change the rules in the middle of the game. This must be the last flexibility car makers are given. Let's allow the 2030 and 2035 targets to do their work and bring affordable EVs and clean tech investment into Europe." To follow the latest EV news, including a breakdown of the most popular models across the world, head to Autovista 24. We work with the data from EV volumes to keep you up to date with the latest plug-in trends. Make sure you're signed up for our email as well. That way you'll get the latest news directly to your inbox. And subscribe to the Autovista 24 podcast wherever you listen to us. But we are hosted on Spotify, so if you're using the app, you can leave us a comment about this episode. And check out Autovista 24's YouTube channel as well. There you'll find our What Is Explainer videos, launch report series, and webinar recordings. Just check out the show notes for this episode for a link to Autovista 24. This week, the European Commission and the UK's Competition and Markets Authority both handed out fines to car makers for participating in an end-of-life vehicle recycling cartel. The European Commission fined 15 car makers and ASEA a total of roughly €458 million. Meanwhile, the UK's Competition and Markets Authority fined 10 car makers and 2 trade bodies £77.7 million in relation to similar conduct. So what exactly did these fines cover? An investigation by the European Commission found that for over 15 years, car makers had entered into anti-competitive agreements and engaged in concerted practices relating to the recycling of end-of-life vehicles. Parties apparently colluded on 2 major points. Firstly, they agreed not to pay car dismantlers for processing end-of-life vehicles. Secondly, they agreed not to promote how much of an end-of-life vehicle can be recycled, recovered, and reused, and how much recycled material is used in new cars. All companies admitted their involvement in the cartel and agreed to settle the case. However, Mercedes-Benz was not fined, as it revealed the cartel to the authorities. European EV charging companies Atlanti, Electra, Fastned and Ionity have partnered to create Spark Alliance. This body looks to create a seamless charging network, simplifying the charging experience and making EV ownership easier. From summer 2025, drivers will be able to charge and pay at any one of Spark Alliance's 1,700 member stations, with access to one of 11,000 charging points across 25 European countries. If you would like to explore some of today's stories in more depth, head to the show notes and click the link to our companion article on Autovista 24. This episode was co-produced by Autovista 24 journalist Tom Hooker. Additional thanks go to special content editor Phil Curry. The music was Better Find a Solution Fast by Richard Ames. Thank you very much for listening to the Autovista 24 podcast.